alongside head soccer coach Brian Haddock. John Edwards with you. And coach, busy couple weeks for the team. You played last week. You had some home games here finally, and then this week you have the CYC.
Yeah, we flew through our MCC, in essence the MCC schedule here at home, and went right back into the CyC Tournament, which is one of the premier tournaments around.
We've talked over the last couple of weeks where you said you're looking at some of the kids and how they're growing into this team and how things are developing, and how does that development continue to grow now as we're a month into the season?
It's grown leaps and bounds, mainly because of a few injuries we've had. We've been able to put some of our younger guys in A or B, some guys that have been in different positions, but that's the nature of the beast. We do have substantial amount of injuries, but we just can continue to grow with our young guys, and understand our brand of soccer this year is just a little bit more of a blue collar sort of a team, and to not get away from what makes us a special group, we feel. So yeah, we just keep growing in that capacity and trying to do better on our defensive end of things, which I think up until last night we've really come a long way. I mean, up until Wednesday night in that CYC tournament, if you look at the brackets, we were the only team that has given up only one goal, which is really positive.
You go 1-1-1 this week at the CYC. You take a lot of positive away from that, because over the last couple of weeks you've taken some of your lumps through the MCC schedule, a couple of bounces that don't go your way, and now you get a little bit of time to breathe. It almost feels like, now that you've moved through the busy part of September, now you move into October.
Yeah, well, tonight, we do play Kirkwood. We advance to the semifinals of that tournament, but like you said, after this week, you're going to be able to wake up and take a breath of fresh air. Yeah, the last 2 weeks, I think we as coaches are almost like managers of bodies, I feel, because there's so many games in this last 2 weeks of September and not so many practices. And I think after this week, we're going to be just so much ready for a practice. But it really does help mental toughness, I think. The CYC tournament, it is a grind. I mean, you're playing, if you advance the entire way, you're playing 5 games in 5 days. Tonight's our 4th in 4 days, but it really physically and mentally prepares you for, if your team's fortunate enough to advance in the playoffs, kind of like that Final Four feeling, the old 3 big games in a week sort of a period, and that's kind of what we're building for.
You and I have talked over the last couple of years that you like the schedule being heavy early because you like that mental challenge. You kind of feel that the competition is better at points and times than it is, say, practice time.
Yep.
With an inexperienced team, do you wish it was a little bit different for you?
When you say inexperienced, I like that you said inexperienced versus young, because we do have, juniors and seniors on our roster who are brand new to varsity or, now starters. But what I like the most about it with the inexperience is that you get to see early on different styles. And when you look at our district, with Eureka and Kirkwood both ranked in the state, ourselves and Parkway South, you potentially have three different brands of soccer from those opponents, coupled with a potential MCC team, polar opposite sort of brand of soccer. That inexperience, when you get through that in September, I think you see all those different sorts of styles. So yeah, I don't think a younger team or an inexperienced team, it really matters, because I think at the end, you throw the experience out. I mean, we treat this as a varsity team, whether you're young or not. In October, you got to be ready to play.
A lot of coaches will say it's all about getting minutes played, because a lot of guys over the last couple of years may have not played that high-level varsity minutes, where a lot of the kids over the last couple of years were entrenched in the varsity program, juniors, seniors. Now, really, if you look at your roster, there's only a couple. Travis Kircher, who's been injured on and off a little bit, was really one of the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Will Daner a little bit too, that got some of those minutes for you. So getting minutes for those kids, has it been that balance that by the time we get to the end of this season, they're going to be comfortable?
Yeah, the minutes for sure. And then what you really find out in this grueling part of the season in September is that, you learn about some players' role on the team, and some guys are just suited if they're gonna give you 20 minutes, sometimes it's off the bench, and they're actually giving you a quality 20 minutes, whether it's just having them take a deep breath and feeling better about themselves coming off the bench, versus being thrown right into the hopper as a starter. Some kids don't handle that so well. And we're trying to manage that as coaches with a lot of our newer roster members. But yeah, besides Travis and Will, I think Tommy Matea is really the only other one who got substantial minutes in last year's team. But for the other 21 guys, just finding out, what can they provide you? Maybe it's off the bench at what part of the time, because some kids handle that differently versus a starter or coming off the bench.
You moving away from the varsity team, you played tonight against Kirkwood in the semifinals of the CYC. What time is that game?
6 o'clock at Soccer Park, field number 3.
Nice. So we'll have to check that out later tonight. Moving away from the varsity program, let's talk a little bit about the sophomore program. Program still undefeated. They're 7-0-3 at this point in the season. And what is some of the feedback you've been getting from the sophomore?
We're really happy with all of our younger levels. Usually when you've got younger guys on our varsity, there's a domino and ripple effect there. And what I'm really happy about with our B team is that they're playing very, very consistent soccer. And you're talking about a big group of sophomores, but there's also, I think, 4 or 5 freshmen on that group, coupled with the fact that we've got 5 sophomores on our team. And that's, as a varsity coach, that's really neat to see, how that younger team doesn't dwell on maybe who they don't have, but thrives on who they do have, and that meshing with a pretty strong freshman class that we have. Going backwards to our freshman black and gold team, those guys are competing. Our rosters aren't as deep in numbers as they were in 2018. But with that being said, that means there's, 30 plus guys amongst 2 teams getting a ton of minutes. Going back to your question about minutes, when you're talking about a 14-year-old at the high school level, there's so much of a development there between 14, 15, and 16-year-olds that we just want them on the field. So our gold team and black team have been able to do that with smaller rosters on each.
One of the things that I've liked about the program in talking to you over the last few years is the development from the freshman through the sophomore team up into the varsity program. It's all, you guys, all the coaches are on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, because there are programs that each level will run different.
Mm-hmm.
But this program runs a succinct program, coaches are all on the same page. And how important is that for the students who are participating to know that whatever they're doing their freshman year won't change their sophomore year, won't change as they move forward in the program?
Yeah, and the first thing I want to mention on that is this the quality of gentlemen that I have in the program, and I'm glad you said that. Our coaches are phenomenal. Most of them are in our building, and that alleviates to some of the chemistry and communication that we have when you have like 6 of the 8 coaches in the building. Yeah, so the way I like to kind of operate in that regard is to, talk about a brand of Vianney soccer, and I think we all kind of get that it's that physical, blue-collar, workman-like sort of approach. However, we do let the coaches have the autonomy based on the personnel that they have to run the system they want. So it's a matter of discussing the style versus the system. If Coach Weber, Coach Meyer, or Coach Burley want to run a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1, whatever it might be, hey, we're completely on board with that. And I love the development of a coach to be able to decide on their own how that fits. But as far as the style goes, as far as the mentality of a player, getting them in there in the off season to get mentally stronger and physically stronger, that sort of stuff is what is consistent with our program. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's something that you can see, as a bystander on the sidelines.
Coach, I appreciate a few minutes. Best of luck
Thank
against
you, John.
Kirkwood tonight.
Appreciate it.
Coach Brian Haddock joins us for a few minutes. We'll catch up with him again next week to talk about the Vianney soccer program.